以前它是主流的我们练习率导向说，对不对？
Okay, good morning everyone. Are there any questions before I start? Okay. Any questions about the homework that's due next class? Okay, as some of you probably are keeping track, the midterm exam is next week, Thursday. I'm not sure if you are reading the dates on the syllabus or not. But that's essentially on topics that I've been talking about, namely fast convolution and fast parallel filters and all the topics that we have been talking about so far. Okay. I have the choice of not assigning new homework or assigning some more homework. And do you have any thoughts? I don't have to assign. I mean, if I don't assign homework, you just read and review. If I do assign you some more homework, you have to they will be somewhat thought-provoking, so you have to think some more. Anyway, let's talk about that next class. So let me just briefly start by talking about the problem 7b that I said many of you did not do it right. So the question had asked you to do a 9 by 4 convolution using fast convolution. Okay. So here is the thing, when we have an outer convolution and an inner convolution, so let's say that I want to convolve 3a by 3b as an example. Let's take one example, 3a by 3b convolution. Okay, then I could do that as outer a by a and inner a by b and inner 3 by 3, or inner 3 by 3 and outer a by b. So either way, so let's take an example. So let's say that SP is equal to HP times XP, and let's say that I want to describe, so let's say that A, as an example, let's say A is 4, let's say A is 4 and B is 3. As an example, then so let's say that H0 plus H1P all the way up to H11 P to power 11 times X0, so that would be degree 9 up to sorry, degree 8. 9 terms, so that would be up to degree 8. So, so there are basically two ways of approaching this. One, I can say, okay, let's try to describe this as so H0 plus H1P plus H2P squared plus P cube times H3 plus H4 P plus H5 P squared, so that's up to P to power 5 plus P to power 6 so that's 8, and then P to power 9 times H 9 that whole thing times x0 plus x1p plus x2p squared plus p cube times x3 plus x4p plus x5 p squared plus p to power 6 times x 6 plus x7p plus x8p squared. So in this approach, if you look at what are the inner convolutions, so the inner convolutions are going to be this convolved with that. So this is inner 3 by 3 and the outer will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, outer 4 by 3. So that's, so the way I have described this, and you can call this P cube as Q, and so the outer polynomial is polynomial in Q, and the inner convolutions. So the most important thing here is that this whole thing at the outer layer is a polynomial in Q. This is also polynomial in Q. So that's how they line up correctly. I could choose to express this in another way where the inner convolutions will be A by something must be wrong here. Outer A by B, inner 3 by 3, or inner A by B, outer 3 by 3. Okay. So alternatively, I can describe that as take the P cube terms together. So if I take the P cube terms together, so I can write this as, so I want to now describe this as H0 plus H inner 3 by 3. So now we want outer 3 by 3, inner 4 by 3. So that means I must describe this as 4 terms. So H0 plus how many terms are here? 12 terms. So there are 12 terms in H, and that has to be described into groups of 4. So there will be 3 groups of 4. Okay. So 2 plus 3 5 plus 3 8 plus 3 11. Okay, so now we have taken care of all of h terms times x terms x0 plus x3p cube plus x6 p to power 6 plus p times x1 plus x4 p cube plus x7 p to power 6 plus p squared times x2 plus x5 p cube plus x8 p to power 6. Okay, so now if you look at this, the inner convolution is going to be 4 by 3, 4 terms here and 3 terms here. At the outer layer we have 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so that's 3 by 3. So the key observation here is that in order to apply iterated convolution, there must be a common factor that we can take outside. So in this example I chose 3 as a common factor. So if I am applying iterated convolution to a 3a point by a 3b point convolution, then I can either do either of these, a by b outer followed by 3 by 3 or a by b 3 by 3 followed by a by b. But the fact is, although in the problem I asked you to apply 2 iterations of 3 by 2, it is correct that 3 times 3 is 9, 2 times 2 is 4, but these are mutually co-prime and they have no factor in common. So there is really no way that you can apply fast iterated convolution to the 9 by 4. So I had warned you that it is a little thought provoking beforehand, but any question about that? Well, there is really a lot of things to think about. Anyway, that's that. Okay, that doesn't mean the problem that I gave you, which is 9 by 4. The best way to solve that 9 by 4 convolution is, so how really would you solve a fast 9 by 4 convolution? So here is what you can do. You can take the 4 point, okay, and then, so let's do 4 times this 9 can be written as 8 plus 1 point. Okay, so I can then say, okay, so I can take 4 point and then convolve with another 4 point. So now I have 4 plus 4 and 1 point. Okay, so this result is 4 plus 4 minus 1, 7 point. This is 7 point, and this is how many points? 4 times 1. This is just a product, 4 point. Or you can think 4 plus 1 minus 1, it's okay. So think about this, let's say, as h0 plus h1 plus h2, okay, h1p plus h2p squared plus h3p cube, and this is p to power 4 times. So that has to line up correctly, and then h4, 5 and h7 I'm not writing anymore, and this is h8. So h8 p to power 8. So whatever is coming here has to multiply by p to power 8, whatever is coming here has to multiply by p to power 4, and then you will merge all these. Okay, so 7 point, 7 point, 4 point. So now this 4 by 4 convolution can be done with, if I recall correctly, 9 multiplications, 19 add operations. So 9 multiplications and 19 add operations. So we can finish this 9 multiplications, 19 add plus 9 multiplications and 19 add plus 4 multiplications here. So this is simply computing, this is simply computing h8 times x0 plus x1p plus x2p squared plus x3p cube. So that's just 4 multiplications, okay, and then how many add operations. So if I really want to count how many add operations, I need to look at these terms. So whatever terms are coming out here will be p to power 0 through p to power 6. Whatever coming out here, p to power 0 to 6 multiplied by 4. So these will be p to power 4 through p to power 10. So this group is p to power 0 to p to power 6. This group here, p to power 6 through, 4, add 4 to that, 4 plus 6 is 10. And here, this wire is p to power 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, and then you merge these. How many things to add? So if I am adding p to power 4, there will be 1 here, p to power 5, 1, p to power 6, 2, 1, p to power 7, nothing, no more, just leave it as it is. 6 and 7, leave it as it is. Okay, let me write this down. I may forget what I wrote. So p to power 4, p to power 5, p to power 6. Okay, p to power 7 is right here. No p to power 7 here. P to power 8, 9, 10, 8, 9, 10. P to power 11 just 1, so 3 plus 3, so 6 add. So that's the total number of add operations, 19 plus 19, 38 plus 6, 44 add. Okay. So that's kind of one approach. And as you can see, the power of two convolution algorithms, in general 2 to power m point, 2 to power n point are easy to compute. So that's why in FFT, which we will spend a lot of time talking about, we pad zeros to make them powers of 2. So then we can apply the fast algorithms. Any question about this part? All right. Okay. So so let's continue with what I was talking about last time. So last class I stopped by deriving this nice structure here, and again you can read the book, how the Kronecker product is described. Read the book and do the homework. That's not something I probably can skip teaching those parts, and it should be okay to learn on your own. So the only difference is you will use a different fast convolution algorithm for the homework. So derive the exact structure and describe by Kronecker product, just like in the book, not in a more generalizable way that I'm going to talk about today. But that's really what I want you to do in the homework. But today I want to talk about new ways of describing parallel filters. Okay. So so let's talk about a couple of ways that we can describe parallel filters. Last time I mentioned about, so what I said last time is we can take any fast convolution algorithm such as this one, q times h times p, and then transpose that, we get p transpose h transpose q transpose, and then flip these sequences. So the input is 2l point, 2l minus 1 point. So for a 4 parallel filter, this would be 7 points, and the way we get 7 points is to take the 4 inputs and then the delayed version of the 3 inputs not including x0. Okay. And then the outputs are in flipped order. So outputs are obtained y3, y2, y1, y0. We will spend a little time on this. We'll talk about that. So the elegance of this algorithm as opposed to what I drew last class, the main difference is that the delays here are observed inside these inner parallel filters. So, the 2 by 2 parallel filters have these delay elements here. Now, in the convolution transposed parallel filter, all the L minus 1 delays are placed at the input as shown here. Okay. So, we will spend a little time. There is no delay element inside. This is just simply a fast convolution algorithm, exactly what we have been talking about. Okay. Now, let's say that okay, so I want to talk about one other idea. Well, okay, let's take a look at this one. So, in this simple 2 parallel filter design example, we took the even input, odd input, two inputs, and don't worry about for now, don't worry about, okay, let's not worry about this part here. Think of this part, something going on here. So, think about this as a fast convolution operation convolving 2-point input to a 2-point filter H0, H1. Okay. And it generates a 3-point result 1, 2, 3. Now, so I have been talking about how to take fast convolution and transpose that. One other thing, interesting thing to observe is that you don't really have to transpose the fast convolution algorithm. The fast convolution algorithm itself can be a basis for a parallel filter. How? So, simply take the delayed versions of the last L minus 1 and add them to get the output. So, let me expand on that idea a little bit. So, let's say that I am computing, let's say that I have, let's take a 3 parallel filter, so as an example, or even a 4 parallel filter, so it does not matter. So, let's say that, so let me, so the example that I just talked about, which is the 4 parallel filter. So, if I have x0 plus x1 z to power minus 1 plus x2 z to power minus 2 plus x3 z to power minus 3 times h0 plus z to power minus 1 h1 plus h2 z to power minus 2 plus h3 z to power minus 3. Now, if you think about z to power minus 1 as same as p, this is simply nothing but a 4 by 4 point convolution. Okay. And if you take this 4 by 4 point convolution, so there are all these things here. I am not going to bother about what they are, but eventually I get 7 outputs. Okay, 4 by 7 outputs. Okay, so we have now 7 outputs. In terms of this whole, if I multiply this out, if I write this down as really I write this down, let me think about the 7-point convolution result. So, let me just write down as S0 plus S1 z to power minus 1 plus S2 z to power minus 2, S3 z to power minus 3, S4 z to power minus 4, S5 z to power minus 5 plus S6 z to power minus 6. So, that is the convolution result. So, that is the 7-point sequence or degree 6. Now, what exactly is the first output y0? So if we group this with that, that's going to be y0. What is y1? Z to power minus 1 taken outside a bracket out of these two. So if I delay this and add to that, that is the first phase output y0. Delay this and add to that, that's going to be y1. And finally delay this. So delay, by the way, for 4 parallel filter, each delay is really z to power minus 4. So S5 and S2, so I put, let me put square boxes 2 and 6, 2 plus 4, 6. Okay, so so this was S0 through S6. Okay, 2 and 6, so that's y2, and finally this one here is same as y3. So that's y3, there is nothing more to add. So each and every convolution algorithm is a basis for a fast parallel filter as well. So there are simple principles, but they really have now taught us that if I want to design a simply a 4 parallel filter, there are literally so many ways that I can design 4 parallel filter. I can take the 4 by 4 convolution using many different ways, and I can use each way to use this kind of an idea. The main difference between an idea like this and where was that other page? Well, so the main difference between the idea like this and the transpose idea. So in the transpose version, let me see if I can still find that page. I'm not sure. Well, okay. So in this one, the delays are all at the output. If you transpose that, the delays are all at the input. So the in between part is only fast convolution, and there are no delays inside this block here, or its transpose version. So so that's the main difference between the approach that I described last week, which is this kind of design, as opposed to using convolutions to design parallel filters. I can straightforward use convolution with the last L minus 1 outputs delayed and added to the first L minus 1, and that's kind of one approach, or you take the transpose, and that's kind of the other approach. Let me see if I can find the paper that I was talking about. Where is let me see if I brought, so let's talk about briefly from this Chao Cheng paper. Okay, so we can look at this diagram here. So this diagram here is the transpose structure, where the delay elements, 3 delay elements are at the input, and this is not the transpose but direct convolution followed by delays at the output. And it is very easy to see that if you transpose this, you get that, and that should be obvious. Okay, so any questions before we talk more about this example. Okay, so what I want to do really is spend more time on this convolution idea and the Kronecker product as opposed to okay, so we'll use the fast convolution by itself and by transpose to compute parallel filters. Okay, let's start with this example here. So this is a M parallel. So this is iterated convolution of M parallel. So I think you can see that. So capital M is equal to M times N. Okay. So M. So if we convolve, by the way, all the fast convolution algorithms here are M by M, N by N, same number, not like the previous one I was talking about 3 by 3, 4 by 3. If I want 9 parallel, they will both be 3 by 3 and 3 by 3. If I want 12 parallel, one will be 3 by 3, one will be 4 by 4. Okay. So if we take a fast convolution algorithm for S2m minus 1 and S2n minus 1. So these are two algorithms, and then apply the iterated convolution. So we start with M point sequence X, Pm Kronecker Pn, Hm underscore M times N, and that M times N. Okay. So if you see what that example means, so in this A623, this start with this box as a diagonal box and then shift this one up. Shift this one up. Okay. So the overlap here, actually, the overlap here is N minus 1. So this overlap, well, actually, this overlap is 2. So that overlap is 2. Okay, which is this 2. Okay. So if I look at this 6, let me see here, 632, 632. So this 2 minus 1 is 1, and that overlap is 1. Okay, so that's kind of the overlap between these boxes, and that says how many boxes you shift up. So so this 3 minus 1 is 2, so you take the box and move it up by 2. So this Hmn and Amn means n minus 1 lines of overlap. Okay, so there will be these ones. For n minus 1 lines, there will be 2 ones. Okay, so that's why there will be n minus 1 add operations. Okay, so and then Qm Kronecker product Qn. So for example here, if we apply the 6 by 6 convolution, so 6 by 6 convolution is 11 point. So 6 plus 6 minus 1, 11 point. So the 11 point result can be described as A623. If 2 is outer, 3 is inner. Okay, this is 2 is outer. Okay, that 3 is inner. Okay, times H times P Kronecker Px. So that's kind of 2 by 2 convolution first, and then if you do 3 by 3 convolution first, then 3 by 3 outer, that's changes a little bit. So the number of multiplications will stay the same, but the number of add operations will be slightly different. Okay, all right. So then if I take n is m times n times k. N is now product of three things. So previously we had computed m times n, which is capital M. So now it's m times k. So this does become a little complex, but it really allows us to nicely describe these Kronecker product equations more nicely than the parallel structure that we have in the class and the Kronecker products in the book. I still have to think about a more general way because the delays are embedded into those inner blocks. It is harder to find a more general and easier way to describe the Kronecker product. That is not to say one doesn't exist. It took us enough time to find those examples, but there may be, and so I really don't know. I mean, I'm sure there may be opportunities to describe that in a little better way, but or maybe not. I don't know. Okay, so so here the way this works. Let's take that small example and then maybe describe that. So okay, so I want to start with. Let's see. I want to start with, so n is m n k. Okay, so we want to design n parallel filter. Okay, using iterated convolutions, using m by m, n by n, n by n, okay, k by k. Okay, so so let's just start with the components. So the component equations S2m minus 1 is q m h m p m x m. S2n minus 1 is q n h n p n x n. S2k minus 1 is q k h k p k x k. Okay. So so if I let's say that k is the inner one, k is the inner one, m is the outer one. So if I start with s 2 times nk minus 1, sorry, 2 times nk minus 1. So n times k, so I am now performing a convolution of nk by nk. So this is nk by nk, and the length of the convolution is 2 nk minus 1, and that's going to be qn Kronecker product qk times hn Kronecker product hk times pn Kronecker product pk times x and k. So the number of inputs will be n times k because that's the dimension, and finally a of nk with the overlap here. So let's see, the index that we are using is nk. So k is the inner k, nk by nk. Okay. So then if I build on that, and now I use m by m convolution, which is this quantity. So now we combine this quantity, this is m point, m by m point, and this is nk by nk point, and you combine these two, and then we get s 2n minus 1, okay, where n is that quantity, n is m times, okay, we could call that m. We could call that m. So this could be 2m minus 1, cap m. Okay, so this can be written as, okay, here is the thing. So this is going to be Pm Kronecker product, whatever I had before, Hm Kronecker product, Hn with Hk, and then same with Q, Qm Kronecker product, Qn Kronecker product, Qk. Okay. So now here is the thing. So every one of these matrices, okay, now I take the outer Qm and then wherever there is 1, I place this element. Okay, wherever there is 0, we put all zeros. So now this quantity A has to be expanded so the dimensions match correctly. So this is going to be, I think I may be using slightly different from the book. I'm not sure. Let's take a look. Okay. Yeah, I'm using slightly different from the book. The book started with m by n and then build on that k. So the paper is using slightly different. So I think in definition that I am using, it would be slightly different. Let's see. Well, we can leave it as it and see. So this A has to be nk, not n, m. Kronecker product I, which is a 2 m minus 1, yeah, okay, by a 2m minus 1. Okay, so yeah, the book has slightly different, so I think in my definition, I think this should be I Kronecker product because we are expanding. Okay, this should be I of that dimension, of that outer dimension, which is m, Kronecker product that. Okay, we'll get to the paper. And then finally another A matrix to combine all of these. Okay. Okay, so the final A matrix will be A, N, followed by M, M, M. This is inner, this is outer. Okay, yeah. And this is a, okay, so well, let's take a look at what this paper does. Okay, so here we start with L is L1, L2 up to LR. So the paper is starting from, so if we start with L1 and L2 first, and then L3, then L4 up to LR. So if you look at all these, S2n minus 1 is, we'll talk about this AL. So you start with all these P, PL1, Kronecker product, all these. That's really not true. So the paper is starting correctly. So LR minus 1 times LR. So this is our starting point, and you build on that up to QL1, PL1. So that's really correct. That's exactly what I was doing. And then, so this AL has to be found by an iterative algorithm. So this new notation here, this AM underscore MN is now described as A m comma n, and so A1 is A L1 L2, and then A2 is A L1 L2 comma L3 times this A1 Kronecker product with that. So there is a mistake here in the paper, in the typo. This A1 should be A R minus 1. Use A2 to compute A3, A3 to compute A4. Should be AR minus 2. Use AR minus 2 to compute AR minus 1. And then that's the final AR minus 1. Okay, so if we do all of that, and then the Y4 example, Y4 is, so take the transpose. So P's now come to the beginning, P's were at the end, H4 Q transpose, Kronecker Q transpose. So that A is A transpose X4, and this A transpose here, as I explained or briefly mentioned last time, A transpose, although A has overlap of one block that leads to one add, A transpose has no more than one in any row, so it does not introduce any add operation. So that's really what that structure is. So if you go back and look at term by term, as I've tried to describe here, so Q2 transpose, Kronecker product Q2 transpose, from Q to get the transpose, and as you can see here, wherever there is 1, place the whole Q2 transpose here, and then so Q2 transpose and then you place that whole thing here. So 1 plus the whole thing, 1 plus the whole thing, 0, 0, minus 1, minus of this 0, 0, 1, 1. So place whole thing here, whole thing here. Okay. Similarly, P2 transpose. So you can take your time and see how these products are lining up correctly with, so this whole thing here. So these are the 3 delays. So that's what is saying. This is the flipped sequence. Start with x3, x2, x1, x0, and the delayed version of x3, x2, x1. Okay, so and then this whole thing here is Q2 transpose, Kronecker product, Q2 transpose, and then go through these, and then finally this whole thing is this whole thing here is P2 transpose, Kronecker product P2 transpose, and this 2 adds. Oh no, I guess not. I guess A, let's see here, no, there's no more. Okay, that's fine. So the whole thing is P2 transpose. Okay, so so that's one way to think about this. Another way that I would suggest you try at home, let's see. So one other way that is not shown in the paper, but I think it is a good exercise for you to try at home. So okay, I don't see. Oh yes, no. So try this equation. So try at home. So y4. Okay. So start with y4 is equal to A422 Q Kronecker product Q H Kronecker product H P, because this is 2 by 2, these are same matrices, P Kronecker product P x. Okay, try this at home. So now take the 4-point sequence x. This is the iterated convolution. And now, unlike, so the main difference between this and this is the transpose. So that means this y4 here is in flipped sequence. So this is y3, y2, y1, y0 transpose. This is not in flipped sequence. This is simply y0, y2, y1, y2, y3. So, okay, so that's not in flipped sequence. Okay. So this x also is not in flipped sequence. This is really 7 by 1, which is x3, x2, x1, x0, delayed x3, delayed x2, delayed x1. And this x is 4 by 1, x0, x1, x2, x3. Now there has to be another matrix B. There has to be another matrix B multiplying, because if you will see that A422 is a 7 by something, it's computing 7 outputs. That B will take the last 3 and add them. Okay, let's talk about what that B is. So this B is going to be of dimension 4 by 7. Okay, so so we have 7 quantities here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I want to add Okay, so that's the B matrix. So what does it do? It adds element number 0 and 4. Excuse me, 4 is here. 4 is here. So this is 0 and 4, 1 and 5, 2 and 6, and 3 stays as it is. So 3 stays as it is. Okay. So that's what this z to power minus 4 things are adding these. So this is the left half is the identity matrix, and the right half is so the last one is all zeros. You can think of that as z to power minus 4 times the identity matrix of dimension 3 by 3. So this whole thing is L by L. This here is L minus 1 by 1 zeros. This whole thing here is a z to power minus 4 times identity matrix of 3, which is L minus 1 times L minus 1. Okay, so I've spent a lot of time talking about relationship between fast convolution and the parallel filter, and how to design the convolution itself to design parallel filter, and the transpose of the convolution to design parallel filter. And you can check that the two parallel filters obtained by these approaches are related to each other by their transpose. So, okay, so that's kind of probably enough for me to wrap up this chapter. Any questions? Those of you who came late, I just reminded the class that the midterm exam will be next week, Thursday. in case you are not reading the syllabus. Mostly about the topics that I have covered really until just now. I mean, that's kind of what the content will be for the midterm exam. Okay, so with that, let me. There are some very interesting problems in the book. I mean, I could give you some homeworks to try with based on the ideas that I've just described. That might be useful to you to think about. Okay, so there are some very interesting problems in the book that I can probably give you as homework. They will be thought-provoking a bit, but that's probably okay. Okay, so let me just maybe briefly talk about. So, if you think about the evolution from sub-band decomposition to wavelet filter. Okay. So, essentially, how many of you have taken a class on multirate filtering, or you have seen some multirate filtering ideas? Okay, we may talk about that more, but basically let's talk about if I take the signal xn and decimate or downsample. This is downsample. Well, I should say decimate. No, downsample is fine. Downsample and expand. Okay. So if I take a signal xn, the output yn is x2n. Okay. So basically we are throwing out every alternate sample. So if you think about the input as A, B, C, D, E, F, and let's say this was sampled at 0, this was sampled at t, this was sampled at 2t, 3t, 4t, etc. And we throw that one sample away, so the output here is going to be A, I throw B out, C, I throw D, E. So in some sense, you can see that if the signal samples corresponded to a sampling period of t, then the downsampled version has sampling period 2t. So that means the frequency, which is 1 by t, now the frequency is 1 by 2t, which means this is a downsampled version. So this is frequency prime is frequency by 2, where this frequency, if this was sampled at 20 kilohertz, this is sampled at 10 kilohertz. Okay, so that's why it's called downsampled. And a lot of the times we take a signal which may have been sampled at the sensor at 5 or 10 kilohertz, but we might decide that, okay, I'm really interested in information containing up to 100 hertz. So if it was sampled up to 5 kilohertz, then I may do a downsampling by factor 50. Expand, on the other hand, so if I take these signals at input A, B, C, D, then I get A, interpolate to 0, B 0, C 0, D 0, and so on. So that's really what expansion does. So insert zeros after every sample. If I want to expand by factor 10, then insert 9 zeros. Okay, so typically we use decimation by factor I think L. So typically this is L, this is M. So insert M minus 1 zeros. Okay, so So what really happens to the frequency content? There is some aliasing that comes into play in this particular case that I can skip right now. So aliasing means some information can be lost. So that's why people do anti-aliasing filter before applying the downsampler. So basically, so let's say that the content, let's call this x n, and this is y n, which is x expanded n, x e n. Okay. So expand in time domain, that leads to compress in frequency domain. Okay. So basically that means that if you take and recall that the discrete time spectrums are periodic with period 2 pi, so this really repeats. So that means if you expand the sequence by factor 2 by inserting zeros, this just compresses in x-axis. So compresses in the frequency domain. So that's kind of so you can call this x e to power j 2 omega. Okay, the effect of downsampling, so this is expand. In downsampling, if I had some spectrum until pi by 2, if I have more than pi by 2, then there will be aliasing, so I won't talk about that. And then you downsample. Okay, so downsample in time domain, or compress in time domain, then expand in frequency domain. So this expands to minus pi to pi. So this expands by factor of 2. So this shrinks by factor 2, expansion by factor 2, shrinks the spectrum by factor 2, downsample by factor 2, will stretch the spectrum by factor 2. I am not proving all this right now. We can spend more time, but I think I can talk about some brief ideas. So basically, the whole idea of subband coding is if I have the frequency content, so this is 0 to f max, and I want to divide this to 8 different bands. Okay, so then we have 8 different bands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the bandwidth of each of these bands is going to be f max by 8. Okay. So typically we can describe, and I may talk about this more later on, but for now I am not really talking about this a lot. So typically what we usually do, take the signal xn, pass these through a series of band pass filters. So for example, this has, so the f max in discrete sense would be equivalent of pi. So this has pi by 8. And the next one is a band pass filter from pi by 8 to 2 pi by 8. And then the next one, 2 pi by 8 to 3 pi by 8. So like that, the last one is going to be 7 pi by 8 to pi. So if I filter the signal x by these 8 different bands, what I get back is 8 different spectral non-overlapping spectral contents of X. So I've divided X into 8 different bands. So all the frequencies in this band are here. So this would be, if I call these signals X1 through X8, for example, so X1n, X2n up to X8n. So X1n would have all the frequencies here, and other frequencies of X1 will be 0. X2n will be having all the frequencies here, and other frequencies the value will be 0 in an ideal case. Okay, the ideal filters are non-realizable and there will be some overlap and so on. So in an ideal case, that would be, this would be the X8n. Okay, so this frequency content would be available here. And then the way a transmitter works, if you think about a transmitter and a receiver, so we downsample this by factor 8, all this by factor 8. So that's what the transmitter does. So this whole thing is, you can think of that as a analysis system or a transmitter, and then we pass this through the channel, and finally I get the signal received at the channel. So you can think of this box here as some kind of a channel. And then I can then expand this by appending 7 zeros, and then from that I can reconstruct the so there will be these similar filters here. There are the synthesis filters, and then these filters can be added up to get the some replica of Xn called X prime n, subject to certain scaling and delay properties. So there are many lots and lots of nice papers on this whole idea of subband coding. What exactly is subband coding? What does that really mean? So subband coding says that, well, high frequency content such as these really aren't visible to our eyes or audible to our ears. So maybe what I might do is really just send only the top 2 frequencies, so these signals, to the receiver, and just throw these out. That's just one way to think about that. Another way to think about that, well, maybe what I want to do is send these in higher fidelity signals using more bits per sample, and maybe send this with less fidelity or lower bits per sample, and then maybe couple more bands with even less bits per sample, and not the last bands. So that's the kind of coding, because we are getting compression by doing that. So I'm not going into any math, but just describing at a philosophical level what these ideas are. Is that making sense to you? Or not really? I am happy to spend more time. We could spend, and I may spend some lectures on these kinds of things later on. You may wonder why I am talking about this. I may give you one homework problem along these lines, where you don't really have to worry about this. And there is the reason why we do this downsampling and upsampling. The reason I do the downsampling is because I've narrowed the band here, so there is no real reason for me. First of all, if I didn't downsample, so if I took that frequency and divided into 8 bands, and let's say this signal was 10 bits per sample, now I have to transmit 80 bits per sample if I don't downsample. If I do downsample, then I get the real benefit. Because, well, I don't get any real benefit unless I apply coding to these bands, but then effectively I have 10 bits per sample still, which means I haven't lost information. Okay. So this whole thing is transmit, receive. This is called analysis filters. This is called synthesis or analysis bank, synthesis bank. We may spend more time on that. The deviation from that is, instead of using the equal bandwidth decomposition here, just as subband was, instead if I take the whole frequency 0 to f max and divide by 2 parts, Okay, so this is f max by 2, and then divide by 2, this is f max by 4, then divide by f max by 8. So in other words, if I take the signal xn and then have a high pass and a low pass, so let's say this is x 1 or x1, x2. So this whole thing will be the high pass, which will be x1n. x2n divide same thing. By the way, you downsample, because every time we are not getting any benefit if we don't downsample. So downsample and then high pass and low pass, and then this signal x3 and x4. So this will be x. So I took the whole thing is x2, and this is x3, and this is x4. And if I divide this again, and let's call x5 and x6. So x6 will be here, x5 will be here. So the idea is by having, in this case, 1, 2, 3 levels of decomposition. So if I had a full tree decomposition with 3 levels, I would get 2 to the power 3 or 8 levels of subband coding. But instead, using 3 levels, finally I get 4 signals. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there will be downsamplers here. So that's what wavelet is. So instead of having full tree decomposition, we decompose them at unequal frequencies. Half of the frequency band is here, remaining half of that is here. So this is half the frequency, quarter frequency, eighth frequency, and if you add them up, you get 1. So if I have 5 levels, I will get 6 signals. Okay, so one of the things so what we have been learning here in these parallel filters, and so a lot of these signal processing systems that use decimation. So a lot of in old days, okay, so in this problem 15 of the book, in old days, so if we have a filter H followed by downsampler, believe it or not, people were computing. So if this is let's say data coming at 20 kilohertz, downsample I have data at 10 kilohertz. Okay, another way to think about this, if I have 20,000 samples coming in, now I have 10,000 samples here. Okay, because of the downsampler, I have thrown away half the samples. So what people were doing is they would compute the whole thing Y and then throw one sample out. So how does this fast parallel filter come into play? So the fast parallel filter comes into play because first we recognize that this is really the even phase. If I think about Y here and describe that by the even and odd output, so this Y2n is Y0, the even phase, and the odd phase has been thrown out. So in other words, I am just computing the even phase. So going from being very, very inefficient to simply efficient, just compute Y0 and you are done. You have saved half the computations. But you can go further by describing Y0 by another 2 parallel version of that. Then you can, so that's kind of what the the problem talks about. So I may ask you to do that, may or may not, but that's kind of what the problem is. Problem 17 here is a similar problem. So this is high pass, low pass, 2 different bands, describing how we can reduce the number of multiplications. That can either be used in hardware or in software using these fast parallel filter ideas. Very, very nice applications of these in decimation systems. I don't know if there is, I guess, yeah, probably may or I don't know if that. Oh yeah, this is the wavelet application. Okay. This problem 20 is very interesting. Another very interesting problem here that describes how the coefficients, if we have low pass or high pass filters, how the coefficients, how the h of z. So h of z in this example is a low pass filter. If you look at what we are doing here, this bracket is the filter transfer function multiplied to numerator and denominator, and describe that in this way. By describing that in this way, we have this hi plus 1 minus hi, which is the difference of the consecutive coefficients, which has a less dynamic range, and that can now be implemented using few bits. So taking the idea from this parallel filter, but applying that, not this is a sequential filter, not a parallel filter, but applying that idea of narrow band high pass and narrow band low pass, how the coefficients can be subtracted or added to reduce the number of non-zero bits. Okay, so I'll stop here today. We will start new topic next class. Don't go away. I have your graded homeworks that I can give back to you.